Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And people, listen, it is an absolute delight to have our next guest here on the line with us. A lot of you probably already know him. You heard of the name Johnathan Bond, Grammy-nominated artist. This guy has so much that he is offering, and as I said, it is a true pleasure and a wonderful delight to have him here. Now, amongst a plethora of things that we could discuss with him, the main anchor point that we're going to focus on is a book that he's written called The Journey. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much wherever books are sold. But you're going to want to head on over to JonathanBond.com to gather everything that he has in store. And I mean it, because he has a lot in store. There's literally a section on his website called Store. Head on over there and you're going to be greeted with a whole host of things, okay? He has books that he's written. As I mentioned, he's a Grammy-nominated artist, so you know he's got a lot of music that you're going to want to get lost in. Check out his upcoming concert in showcasing events. He has a foundation called Extended Arms that we're going to get into. People, I'm telling you, I hope you're sitting down, because we're about to get into a whole host of things. Now, before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out that Johnathan was brought to our network by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And you already know I'm talking about Quipper Prints. So listen to me. If you're a writer out there, you have a book that you've written, although you find yourself at a crossroads now because, well, you need help moving it, contact Quipper Prints. They're one of the best in the business to do it. And frankly, this is what they specialize in. Head on over to quipperprints.com today and gather all of the ways that they're going to help maximize your creative endeavors. And listen, as I mentioned before, it is a wonderful pleasure to have Johnathan here on the line. Now, his book, The Journey, is really going to be inspirational for so many reasons, but it's stories that he's picked up over his 30-plus year musical journey. And when he's been on the road in different circumstances and encounters that he's had, he's been able to formulate and put into this book. And as I mentioned, it's meant to inspire you. And once we start to discuss it, it's going to do just that, okay? And by the time we've concluded, because please believe it, we're only going to capture the essence here today, okay? Once we're through, you're going to run to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, JonathanBond.com, and purchase your copies because you're going to understand how valuable of a resource this book truly is. But at the end of the day, don't take my word for it. Take Jonathan's. It's his book. He's written it. It's his life. He's lived it. And he's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. Johnathan, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Mr. Benji, thank you very much for the opportunity. I love what you do, and I'm doing wonderful here. Excited to be with you.
Thank you very much. Listen, we're excited to have you, Johnathan. I think what you're doing here, not only through your literary creation, in this instance, The Journey, but listen, your background, man, is something special. As I mentioned to you during the pre-screening call, through your work musically, through your foundation, you have a lot to offer and are really the truest embodiment of a person of distinction. And it really is our pleasure to have you with us here on our network. Johnathan, before we go into your book, I think it's important that we start off by learning a little bit more about yourself and your background. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, please.
I'd love to. I was raised in a beautiful family. I have a wonderful, loving mother and father, and I have 3 siblings. Just been wonderful. Always raised in church, but and always believed in God. But it was not until September the 24th of 1991. I had a major car crash, 18-wheeler, 2 other cars. It physically destroyed me. I had a brain aneurysm. My skull was cracked. My back broken in 9 places. Just a lot going on there. And the doctors spoke to my parents and gave zero hope. But I will tell you, through every bit of it, God pulled me through all of that. When there was no hope, He still made a way for me. And through all of that, I gave Him my life and said, God, you were there for me, so whatever I can do for you, I am there. And he's put me into music, and I love it. I write for a lot of different artists in different genres, and just love being able to do what I am created to do.
There you have it. Well, listen, people, what a way to begin an interview. If that's the foundation, that's where we're starting. My goodness. Well, Johnathan, listen, we're so glad to hear that you were able to bounce back from such a catastrophic event. That is unbelievable. Talk to us a little bit more about your book, The Journey. We're going to go into certain stories that you encounter within it, but tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, on the personal side, I have one son. His name is Markel, and then he has blessed me with 5 beautiful grandchildren. And in that, with that being said, grandgirl number 3, when they found out they were expecting her, the doctors pushed to try and encourage them to have an abortion for this little girl, because they said her health was going to be so bad that there were so many obstacles and that she would never be able to overcome those. Long story short, we stood on God's word and we trusted Him, and we prayed. We didn't know the outcome, but we always knew that God is able. Yeah. And through all of that, my grandgirl number 3 is Journey, which is where I sort of came up with the name of the book. But her name is Journey, and she is the life of the party. She's in perfect health. Mackenzie's the oldest. Then there's Mila, Journey, and then Kaya, and then my favorite little grandson. His name is Jax. So it's just stories from the road, but I included that story of Journey. I included my story from the car wreck, and just different stories as I've traveled. I don't believe everybody should do this, but I pick up hitchhikers on a regular basis. Yeah. I probably picked up well over 1,000 hitchhikers over the 34 years. And what I try to do with each of them is just to encourage them, see what I can do to help them. And I've seen some great response from people who had nothing to give, still gave love and appreciation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those stories are in this book as well.
Yeah, Johnathan, thank you very much, because that's a wonderful segue that you've established. I know in the book you talk about one particular hitchhiker that you picked up, and talk to us a little bit more about that experience and how that went.
Well, I'd love to, and thank you for the opportunity. If you hear a little waver in my voice, it's still a little emotional for me, but I picked up a hitchhiker in Texas. And when he got in the car, I said, where are you headed? And he said, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. He said, I've been in prison for 14 years. I got out 2 days ago, and I don't know where I'm going. So I said, I'm glad you're out, but, where's your family? He said, I was put into foster care at the age of 1, and I went from family to family to family. Wow. He said, I've ruined every relationship and burnt every bridge that I crossed. And, he owned it. And so I love that he owned his faults and his failures in that. But we talked for quite a while, and I was headed to a concert. And I said, I'm going to eat dinner with some people. It's Cotton and Joy Roberts. They live there in the Dallas, Texas area. Mm-hmm. And I said, would you go with us? And then talked to him about going to a concert with me. We went and got him some clothes. He went with me, and everybody there thought he was just with me, traveling with me. They had no idea his story. And through the concert, I began to sing a song called Don't Hide Your Scars, and it affected him in a beautiful way. And then as I began to sing Let Me Take You to Jesus, he gave his life to the Lord. And it was beautiful, unprompted. It was just him, and it was beautiful. To make a long story short, I got a call 2 days later from a hospital in Dallas. And the lady told me, she said, there was a young man today who was walking on the interstate, and he was hit by a car, and his
Oh,
injuries were
my
fatal.
goodness.
She said he didn't have any identification on him, but in his shirt pocket he had your business card. And I was wondering if maybe you could tell us who this is. And I told her who it was, but it really broke me. Like I just
Yeah, of course.
all I could think of was his whole life has been he's had no break, and then when he gives his life to the Lord 2 days later, he dies, and it just sort of broke me for a little bit. But then I realized the scripture in the Bible that said it is appointed unto man once to die. You, I, and everyone listening one day will die. And
Mm-hmm.
and I thought how amazing that God knew Josh's day was on Tuesday afternoon, and so on Saturday he opened up the opportunity for him to have a way back home. And and I just thought how beautiful and how much mercy and grace and love that God has for each of us, even when we have nothing, He still loves us. And it just overwhelmed me to see His love that huge.
Yeah. And people, I love that. And I love that story for so many reasons. The one thing that I'm taking from it is how important perception is in every situation. Even in the darkest moments, there are silver linings. And if you shift the perception, what can be gained is magnificent, right? Because in such an unfortunate circumstance where, someone passes away, if you look at the way Johnathan articulated that in terms of first and foremost, we all like mortality is fleeting, right? We're all inevitably going to pass. But to have it happen in such a circumstance where this man found God and that was what was waiting for him to, well, again, of course, we're speculating here, but in this perception of it is so beautiful in how it's being articulated. There is so much there to be gained. And people, that's just one of the stories. The book is filled with them, and that's why you got to head on over to Amazon and Barnes & Noble, JonathanBond.com, and you got to pick up your copies of The Journey because this is something special that you're going to want to add to your shelf. Another story that I want to get into, and I can relate to it in a certain sense, right? Because by Jonathan's own admission, there's two weaknesses or two things that he just loves, okay? Chocolate being one of them, and my hand's already raised because, I love that. And also shoes, okay? Another thing for me, like myself, my wife, we love our shoes, man. It's just something about it. Well, Johnathan, talk to us about a particular story that you have when you went and purchased your own pairs of shoes.
I was headed to Atlanta to do some grief counseling. Pretty tight time schedule, and as I was headed that way, I noticed a neon flashing sign that said "Designer Shoes 50% off." It was a closeout sale, and I didn't have much time, but I had time for that.
Absolutely.
And so I went. I got off the exit and went to that store, and I wear a size 13. I've been to that store before, so I knew to go in and all the way to the back and over to the left. There's the men's 13s. I was in that store and out of that store in 5 minutes and had 2 pair of shoes, and they were good. I was headed to the car, going to try to get back on schedule, and I noticed a young boy standing with a sign that said, "Hungry, anything helps." Now, I don't give cash because I don't want to fuel a problem that they may be struggling with. So what I do is I keep $5 McDonald's gift cards in my car. And I pulled over to him, and I got 2 of the gift cards out. I handed them to him, and I said, "Hey, man, there's $5 on each one, and there's a McDonald's right across the street." He was very grateful, and you could tell he was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to roll my window up, and I looked down, and he didn't have any shoes on. And so I said to him, I said, "Where are your shoes?" He said, "I've been out here for a while, and yesterday they fell apart, and I had to throw them away." And I said, "What size do you wear?" He said, "I wear a size 10. And my first thought was, "Thank you, Jesus," because I didn't want to lose my new shoes I just bought. But that wasn't a good of me. And so I told him, I said, "I just bought 2 pair of shoes. They're size 13. I will give you a pair if you will wear them. They will be too big, but maybe better than none." He said, "Sir, I'd really appreciate that." I reached in the back seat and pulled that bag up front. And when I opened that bag, there are two pair of shoes in there. One's a size 13 and one was a size 10. And I'll just tell you, I'm never speechless, but I couldn't say a word right then. That overwhelmed me. And I pulled that size 10 out, and I told this guy what happened. And he said, wow, thank you. To him, it just meant a pair of shoes. I said, can I tell you what this reminded me? This reminded me that God knew exactly where you were standing. He knew what you needed. He even knows what size shoes you wear. I said, don't let where you are hold you here. God has greater plans for you. That boy reached in the car and he just hugged me, and a genuine hug. And I didn't just get him shoes. I offered him hope for a better tomorrow. Yeah. And when I seen that, I was like, God, thank you for that opportunity. And God reminded me of a scripture that says he is an ever-present help right when we need him. What an awesome opportunity to share Jesus. Now, I have thought about this. What if I had been so caught up in my world that I never even seen the guy or never even noticed his shoes missing? What would have happened is I would have got home that evening, wondered how in the world I had a pair of size 10 shoes, and I would have missed a tremendous opportunity to share the love of Jesus to someone who was needing that love.
People, oh my God, listen, I'm at the edge of my seat. And one of the things that Johnathan just said in terms of that story was it reminded him of, don't focus on where, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but don't focus on where you currently are. God has a plan for you. People, can we stop and talk about the power in those words? My goodness, because I know a lot of you out there are in a position currently. Well, listen, man, you can't see right from left. You can't see the forest through the trees. And it seems like a lot of the answers are slowly dwindling, and you're looking for something. Let those words be a guidance, because I am one there. I am a firm believer, and you all know I've mentioned this on a number of occasions. I've never been the most religious person, although I am a believer. And when I hear those words, it makes me think of a saying that I live by in terms of God never places anything in our path that we are not strong enough to overcome. Now, it may not seem like that in the moment, but that is, again, something that I live by and something that I firmly believe in. And a fantastic segue, again, that you've established for us, Johnathan, because as we start to transition and we close out here, I would be doing my listening audience a severe disservice if I didn't ask this next one. Now, you are someone that has been, again, you've been traveling for over 3 decades now, and this is the life that you live, right? I mean, these aren't just things that you are saying. You firmly believe in God and the power that he instills in all of us. So for anybody out there that finds themselves at a difficult position currently, Johnathan, and can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I know it's almost unfair to ask because it's such a broad question, but I want you to try to entertain myself and entertain our listening audience. What are some words of wisdom that you can offer to help someone through a tough time that they may be going through?
I think a lot of times when we're going through dark areas of our life, dark avenues, sometimes we feel like it's just us and we're completely alone. Yeah. And and I felt that way. I felt that way many times. But one thing I would always try to remind myself is that God is present. The one who created you with a plan, and he is going to see that plan come to pass. He loves us, not trying to hurt us, not trying to push us down, but to lift us up. And I would love to remind people that there is more to life than what they're seeing. If we could refocus off of us and back to him, we would see things differently. And I can only say that because of what he's done for me. The doctors and everybody around had given up on me, but God had a greater plan. And, my back was broken in 9 places. When I walk, you can't tell anything ever happened to me. And I'm so thankful for the healing. And I know that healing doesn't come to everybody, but every person who is breathing, God has a plan for. Mm-hmm. He gives each breath, and he has a plan. And so I would just encourage people to know that God is present. Talk to him.
Love that.
He loves you.
Love that. People, in addition to this fantastic book, The Journey, he's also written a book called Even If, Yes, He Can, and finally, God's Still God. All of which are available for purchase again through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but check out his personal site, JonathanBond.com. You're going to find those books. You're going to find his music. You're going to find so much. As we close out here, one thing that is just as important as his literary creation and his musical creations is a foundation that he's established called Extended Arms that is absolutely magnificent in how it's been able to help so many people. Johnathan, quickly as we close out, talk to us a little bit more about Extended Arms.
I would love to. We have 30 board members, and no one is paid from Extended Arms, not one person, including myself. But we help. We're 501c3. We help feed, clothe, and house homeless and underprivileged in 7 states. And so basically my team, which is beautiful, we feed 5,200 people a month. And in 2020, we were given the Lifetime Achievement Award, Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from the President of the United States. And for our efforts, but we don't do it for awards. What we do it for is everybody that is struggling. We're all just 1 or 2 breaths away from needing help in some form. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a firm believer. You help others when you need help. There will somebody be there. And so that's what we try to do.
People, I'm telling you, can we stop and recognize? Johnathan said this in a previous answer in terms of a lot of times we are caught up in our own things. And listen, I'll be the first to raise my hand because I've been in that position where I'm focusing solely on myself and my life and things that I have going on. But he mentioned that if we were all able to get back and focus and put our attention on God. And I stopped for a second when he said that, and my imagination ran wild because could you imagine the world that we would be living in if that were the case? And how beautiful life would be? And I think that we could do it, right? And it's the optimist in me, but I firmly believe that we can. And you guys know I talk about this constantly through People of Distinction. There is so much more that connects us. And when I say us, I'm talking about our human family. All of us. There's more that connects us than separates us. Although oftentimes we focus on those differences rather than coming together and really helping out our brothers and sisters in need. His foundation, Extended Arms, does just that. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. You're going to want to head on over to JonathanBond.com and get involved. Right? Get his books, get the music, but get involved in Extended Arms because it is a fantastic cause that you're really going to want to learn more about. This has been a true pleasure, an absolute delight. I know you are all like me. You're heading on over to the purchasing pages as we speak because you understand how valuable of a resource this is to have on your shelf. Well, I'm going to take it a step further. It's an even better gift to add to someone else's. Head on over to JonathanBond.com and get lost in it today. Johnathan, this has been a true pleasure, man, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you very much. Just spreading love, and love makes the difference. Thank you for all you do.